A Model for Success, The 21 Dominant Habits of a High Achiever. In 1921, an obscure writer by the name of Harry Leon Wilson wrote a lengthy novel entitled Bunker Bean. It tells the intriguing story of a man who was tricked into believing in himself. Since birth, Bunker Bean was led to believe that he was unworthy, inferior to everyone and everything. As he grew into adulthood, he lived a life full of fear and timidity until one day, a false spiritualistic medium convinced Bunker Bean that he was the reincarnation of Napoleon Bonaparte. He was shocked to learn that he was once master of the world and that people were once afraid of him. The medium told him that he actually possessed all of the qualities of the great Napoleon and that the time was ripe for those qualities to come to fruition. The thought of who he was inspired Bunker Bean. He went to the library and voraciously read every book he could find about Napoleon, his former self. He collected pictures of Napoleon and hung them everywhere around his small attic room, where he could feast his mind on them. He imitated the speech, thoughts, and actions of his former self. In his own mind, he actually was Napoleon. Wilson goes on to tell of Bunker Bean's quick climb to the top of power, wealth, and fame as a result of his new frame of mind. But one day, the great Bunker Bean discovered the spiritual medium was a fake. He really wasn't Napoleon after all. He had been cheated only for his money. Bunker Bean was crushed. But in the years he had assumed the role of Napoleon, he had formed the habits that go with success. Habits are hard to break. He couldn't change, it was now natural for Bunker Bean to do the things great men did. Wilson concludes that the greatest discovery Bunker Bean made was that every man was born a king, every man was born to riches. To believe is all that matters. The Soviet Union, in the education of their youth, utilizes a technique similar to the principle learned by Bunker Bean. Early in life, Russian youth are tested to determine their physical, psychological, physiological, and intellectual characteristics. These characteristics are then analyzed and profiled into a document called a psychogram. A child's psychogram is entered into a computer. The computer then matches the psychogram to a Soviet model of achievement, a Soviet citizen who has achieved distinction and preeminence for their skills, abilities, and accomplishments. Once matched for similar characteristics, the child is sent away to a Soviet training center, where their body and mind are fine-tuned to assimilate the characteristics of the model. After intensive study about the model's lifestyle, thinking patterns, creative style, and attitudes, the children are led to believe that they are actually the model. They are instructed to think and feel the way the model would think and feel under all circumstances. After a short period of time, the young children demonstrate great abilities in the discipline that was chosen for them, whether it be athletics, art, music, or science. The system is so effective that most of the children, in their prime, surpass the performance of their models and often become models for other Soviet youth to follow. The story of Bunker Bean and the account of the Russian system of youth education illustrates an important principle, which we will be concerned with in this cassette. This principle, simply stated, is that we become like those whom we choose to imitate or model. If we have the opportunity to emulate models of success, we will acquire the attitudes, values, beliefs, and habits of those models and will probably be successful. If we consciously choose to model our lives after those who fail, or if we have only been exposed to failure-prone models, we will probably live lives of great disappointment and dissatisfaction, lives that reflect the characteristic attitudes and beliefs of the models we use for our life's blueprint. Modeling is a phenomenon common to all cultures of the world. Everything from language, mores, attitudes, behaviors, familiar customs, to religious practices is gradually learned through observing real-life models. In this cassette, you will be presented with a model of high achievement. Through research conducted at Harvard, Yale, Stanford, and the University of California, we have identified a pattern of attitudes and habits associated with high achievers. We have narrowed down these unique characteristics to 21 distinct behaviors and habits, which we have assigned to 5 categories: mental, emotional, physical, financial, and spiritual. The characteristics of a high achiever, which will be presented here, are drawn from a composite profile of high achievers in many different fields and lines of work, including business executives, managers, supervisors, entrepreneurs, small business operators, salespersons, educators, athletes, engineers, and professionals such as doctors and lawyers. The criteria we used to define a high achiever was an individual who achieves their own goals while enriching their own life, as well as the lives of others, including their family, co-workers, and subordinates. Once you become thoroughly familiar with the characteristics of this model, you will be able to pattern yourself after the model and create your own personalized images of achievement in your mind. You will be able to envision with sensory-rich clarity perfect and rich images of success. These images will take root in your brain and nervous system until they gradually blossom into achievement-oriented behavior, and your high achievement behavior will bring forth a rich harvest of personal success in anything and everything you decide to undertake. As we work through the model and discuss the various characteristics associated with a high achiever and the underachiever, you will notice that in some instances, you will identify with the high achiever, and in some cases with the underachiever. Because you may have a few characteristics in common with the underachiever, it doesn't mean that you are an underachiever. It just is holding you back from experiencing an ultimate level of personal success. Extinguishing those self-defeating behaviors and acquiring the attitudes, behaviors, and habits of a high achiever is what this program is all about. Now, let's examine our model of the high achiever and see what distinguishes the high achiever from the average underachieving person.